Embattled National Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, Senator Samuel Anyanwu, has given insights into why certain party leaders were hell-bent on forcing him out of the office. Anyanwu told newsmen that he was being targeted for his insistence on due process, respect for the rule of law, and his long-standing personal relationship with the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Chief Nyesom Wike. According to him, some of the party leaders from his zone, Southeast, consider him a stumbling block to their political ambitions, part of which include taking over the party structure. He said, "I was validly nominated and elected as the national secretary of this great party at a national convention, and our constitution clearly spells out how a person occupying positions in the National Working Committee can be replaced if the need arises. I took time off to contest for the governorship of my state, and the deputy national secretary acted while I was away. Our constitution gives me the power to delegate functions to my deputy. It was strange that while I was campaigning, some people went as far as forging documents by illegally altering our party guidelines and inserted a clause that it is not in the original document to say I must resign. The police is investigating. I would say much on that. Everyone knows my relationship with Chief Nyesom Wike. We were local government chairmen and members of the PDP. I cannot deny him. Anyanwu accused some of the party's governors of working in cohorts with a section of the Board of Trustees in pursuit of an agenda to weaken the party for selfish gains. He noted that the advice of both parties that Sunday Udokoye be immediately sworn in as a substantive national secretary following a court of appeal judgment was simply a proxy war. Edenko,
well,
what do you have to say?
This matter, I'll look at it from different point of view.
Go ahead.
I think it's better I start from the bottom to top.
Okay.
Given the fact that he said documents was forged and some clauses were inserted, I think it behoves on us to see the original document and the forged one. Then let's look at them pari passu or on its merit. Then we'll come out with a proper sense of judgment. 2, matters being in court, which he said he doesn't want to talk, is his right to appeal, which he is at the Supreme Court. Let's allow for robust litigation. His relationship with the current minister of the FCT, for me, everybody, you are at liberty to associate with whoever you want to associate with, so long as the person is not a criminal, the person is not a wanted person, the person is not someone that is on the run, which the law says you cannot associate with the person. Otherwise, you are at liberty to be friends with whoever you want to be friends with, and nobody should use your friendship with any person to work against you at any level. Otherwise, it becomes vindictive. And like I always tell people, being a witch or a wizard is recruiting people to hate someone who has not done anything to you. Not all witches and wizards fly. The era of witches and wizards flying is gone. So now we have people who are walking with 2 legs, they have 2 hands, they are practicing wizardry and witchcraft at various levels. I can tell you for free. Even in churches we have them, workplace we have them, even at the family we have them, even at the community level they are there. So for me, if the constitution of the party says he can, while being this national secretary, contest for governorship without resigning as secretary, let them get to the court and try the constitution, put it on trial, so that all this, because with the way PDP is going, I can tell you here without fear or favor, without sentiment, that they don't have what it takes to stand APC in 2027. A party that is in opposition, going into an election year again, or an election cycle, you're still busy fighting yourselves internally. Then which time would you even have to go for external aggression when you're busy fighting yourself internally? So at this point, if the party continues, Nigerians will lose hope in them, because they have not given us that hope that they can change the change of APC. So Nigerians will look for alternative solution. We are tired of waiting. This is how many years now? 8 years. They couldn't take power from APC. They couldn't take it in 20. Okay, they lost it in 2015, lost it in 2019, lost it in 2023. And from the way they are going, if they are not careful, they might even come third in general election of 2027. except they put their house in order. I've never seen a party, I can tell you, that is in opposition fighting themselves like this. It's not done anywhere. At this point, what they should be doing is to bring everybody on board. I tell people, party politics is not a trade union. It's not a professional body. It's an all-common affair where the interest of the motor park person, the driver, the tout, the man in the village level, even the man who is in control of the foot soldiers, they bring everybody's interests and opinion together and aggregate it, form a common force. But in the case of PDP, it's one case or the other. It's either they are removing, they are fighting, and we can't continue like this as a party.
All right. Now, I have some questions. I'm curious about certain things surrounding the Senator Anyanwu and Udokoye saga. Now, first off, you know, the PDP has a constitution as to how their national officers emerge, and that's through a NEC convention. Now, how then can a national officer be replaced by election by a caucus of the party? This is the first question. Probably you answer that before I ask another one.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The constitution of the party clearly says that for national officers to emerge, it must be at the NEC level and not at the zonal level. For crying out loud, Samuel Anyanwu is a national secretary and not a zonal secretary. And in as much as he's not a zonal secretary, at the zonal level, they shouldn't sit down.
It wasn't even a zonal thing that happened. It was a caucus.
That's okay.
They said the Southeast caucus of the PDP.
Okay, the Southeast caucus sat down,
yes,
and brought out somebody.
And elected Udokoye.
You don't elect at the caucus level for especially national office. You don't, even at the ward level, you don't sit down in somebody's living room or in a hotel to do election. You must come to the party secretariat. These are where things are done. These are where decisions are made. For me, they had a party in someone's house and brought out somebody.
Okay. Now, second question leading up to that question is this. Let's go with let's just assume that this election done by the Southeast PDP caucus, you know, is legally acceptable. Who ratified that election?
That's another question. Issues like this, once it's done, is supposed to be ratified at the NEC meeting, or through, in fact, from the National Working Committee, then to NEC. But none of these has done it. They ran to court to get a judgment at the Court of Appeal. Fine, you have an appeal court judgment. The same man whom you took to appeal has a right also to contest to say, okay, let me get to Supreme. Let's try this. So that at the end of the day, the law is supreme, and whoever the Supreme Court favors, it becomes the person's, and not a kind of thing where you do in a brigandage or kind of a clandestine way. That's what I find very difficult to understand. And with the way the leadership of the, and you cannot have a board of trustee chairman and a governors forum chairman who are interested parties in crisis. He who must come to equity with clean hands. You don't come to equity with soiled hands.
All right. Now, that brings me to the third question in this Udokoye Anyanwu saga. Now, the third question is very simple. It's something I've been curious about, and I've asked it once in my show. I'm going to ask you, Edenko. Now, this whole thing happened between 2022 and 2023. Recall that this election, you know, the Guba elections was in 2023. Anyanwu stepped aside to go run elections, and according to him, delegated responsibility to his deputy. Now, Udokoye was elected by the PDP Southeast Caucus years back. Where has he been all this while? If he was elected, why didn't he naturally, you know, take over that position? If he was elected, why wasn't he sworn in after that election happened? Why wasn't he sworn in and naturally assumed the role of the national secretary while Anyanwu was running for elections?
Well,
after the elections, Anyanwu returned as the national secretary, continued in his role uninterrupted. uninterrupted, and then suddenly from nowhere. And interestingly, towards the ending of the tenure, because I mean, Damagum, they are coming to the end of their caretaker tenure. Why now? Why didn't Udokoye come out all this while?
You see, I think some persons somewhere are putting their personal interests above party interests. You know, party is supreme. Despite the fact that politics is guided by selfish or personal interests, but party politics is quite different. When I say party politics, that's a microcosm. That is a micro level of politics at the party level. So party interest is supposed to be supreme than individual interest. So I believe some persons within the party are putting their personal interest far above the party interest, and that's where party begins to fail. When you put your personal interest above party interest, that's the genesis of crisis at the party level. So some person somewhere wants to fight dirty, and they feel the only way to fight dirty is to fight by proxy.
Now,
and the war of proxy war
yes,
is the most dangerous form of warfare. It's more like a guerrilla warfare.
Now, to a large extent, the Board of Trustees, Senator Anyanwu made mention of the Board of Trustees and the giving instructions that Udokoye should be sworn in. Now, one would say, does the Board of Trustees have the right to give that instruction, or the Board of Trustees, to a large extent, can only play an advisory role in party affairs? Because to the best of my knowledge, the National Working Committee are the ones saddled with the responsibility of the day-to-day running of the party, and they derive their functionalities and their powers from NEC. So now, the Board of Trustees, I am trying to understand, you know, to a large extent, where they derive the powers to give orders, because I mean, to a large extent, to the much that I know, they ought to play an advisory role.
Now back to your question, it's self-explanatory.
Go ahead.
The answer is emphatically no. Somebody somewhere is arrogating powers which he doesn't have to himself. Be you the Board of Trustees chairman, be you the Governors Forum chairman. Some person, I'm being very emphatic, they are giving themselves power which they don't have. Granted, assuming, even without conceding, the onus or the day-to-day running of the party is at the National Working Committee level. And if certain decisions are taken at the NWC level and they want ratification, it behoves on NEC, which is the National Executive Congress or National Council of the, at their meeting, to ratify such decision, and not the Board of Trustees chairman, and not the Governors Forum or the Governors Forum's chairman or the governor. That's why I said some persons are putting personal interests far above party interests, and that's the genesis of crisis in PDP today. And if we are not careful, I'm saying it 3 times, the party might go extinct.
Extinct, isn't that an extreme word to use?
But you know, there is the worst thing that can suffer, or the worst thing a party can suffer is implosion. And you know, implosion is caused by internal combustible elements, not external. And that one is even worse, an implosion. So we should be careful in PDP. The better or the earlier we sit down and look ourselves in the face and tell ourselves the truth, putting personal interest above party interest, the better for us. 2027 is around the corner.